Alright, in this video I talk about Dual Blades in Monster Hunter Wilds for 5 minutes. Dual Blades is effing amazing in Monster Hunter Wilds. I am extremely impressed by Dual Blades. Dual Blades is extremely high octane and it's incredibly exciting to play. Let's first talk about damage. So to be quite honest here, in terms of damage, everything is actually pretty straightforward in terms of the individual move. So like for your normal mode moves, you know, not Archdemon mode moves, your damage is it's okay, it's nothing special. So the first thing you want to do is get into demon mode, right? So you have D1, D2, and D6, which is your basic triangle combo. Now notice the damage discrepancy between D1, D2, and D6. And for those who play Dual Blades, they already are aware of this discrepancy, where D1 is very low damage, D2 is a little bit more damage, but still very low damage, and D6 is a ton more damage. And the reason that is because D1 is literally one swipe from one sword. D2 is literally 2 swipes, one from each sword. D6 is 3 swipes from each sword, so that's 2 times 3 is 6, right? So just in terms of sheer number of hits that are being dealt out, of course Demon 6 is going to be a lot. The interesting thing and the biggest trap with Dual Blades is D6, and it has always been this way because D6 has a very high animation commitment and it's only the 3rd hit in the combo. So the biggest trap that new Dual Blades players run into is they're spamming triangle button or Y button and they end up getting animation locked into Demon 6, right? Because Demon 1 is really fast, Demon 2 is really fast as well. It's very easy to trap yourself in Demon 6, and when you trap yourself in Demon 6, the monster's just going to punish you. So being very disciplined with not getting into Demon 6 when you don't want to is a hallmark cornerstone of good Dual Blades play. So if you're a beginner, just work on that. Work on making sure when you go into Demon 6, you are very dedicated to doing it. You wanted to do it intentionally. And then we have the gauge spending move. So Blade Dance 1, Blade Dance 2, Blade Dance 3. You see Blade Dance 1 is very high and Blade Dance 2 is actually very small. Blade Dance 2 is significantly shorter than Blade Dance 1, and Blade Dance 3 is just like the big shoot your load, big damage finisher, right? And it's going to be long. It's like basically like the TCS of Dual Blades. Now, another thing we can spend our gauge on is Demon Flurry. So Demon Flurry, it's actually very, very good. Like this damage is very respectable, and they're actually very fast, which we will see later in when I take a look at the time analysis and DPS analysis of these moves. We looked at damage, but this doesn't give us the full picture of Dual Blades and why it's so amazing in my opinion, okay? So let's just, in order to do that, we have to look at DPS and time data, and we actually have to look at both. So the first thing I want to cover here is gauge building, right? Because that's the first thing you're going to do, and it is extremely critical to understand how to build gauge very efficiently with Dual Blades, because one issue you're going to run into when you're a Dual Blades player is when the monster changes areas. Now, your gauge actually decreases very slowly no matter what you do. If you're just standing around on sheath or sheath, your gauge is going to be decreasing. If you're chasing the monster to a different area, your gauge is going to be decreasing very slowly. So it's very likely that when you have a new area, you're going to have 0 gauge. And that's a terrible place to be in with Dual Blades. Dual Blades, you always want to have gauge, because if you don't have gauge, you can't do crap, okay? Gauge is so important for Dual Blades. Getting max gauge, or at least maintaining 50%, at least not hitting 0 gauge, because if you hit 0 gauge, you lose your Archdemon status, right? At least if I could keep my gauge above 1% and it never hits 0, then at least I can maintain Archdemon status without having to build my gauge all the way to 100. So it's super important is getting and maintaining Archdemon status through maintaining gauge. All right, so I said earlier, you're going to basically, especially early game, you're probably going to hit 0% gauge when chasing a monster to another area, just because you don't have armor skills to support and maintain that gauge. And that's why it's so critical, like I said earlier, to know how to build gauge incredibly fast. Now, the game actually, at least in the open beta, the game kind of fucks with you, because the biggest move that gives a lot of gauge is Demon 6. You would expect, if the game was nice to you, that you would do 2 full Demon 6 combos and you get full gauge. That is not the case. You get about 97% gauge if you do 2 full Demon 6 combos. And that's kind of BS, but I have a theory in the back of my mind that they want you to invest in focus. That's a really loose theory I'm kind of working with, like at least 1 point of focus. There's actually ways around this that I figured out. So if we're not going to do 2 Demon 6 combos, first of all, you don't really want to do 2 Demon 6 combos. Like you actually don't want to do 2 Demon 6 combos. Well, why is that? Because like I said earlier, Demon 6 is actually kind of hard to get into. It's a very heavy animation commitment. So if you're already spending time just to do Demon 1, Demon 2, and now you are trying to figure out if you have enough time to do Demon 6, it is very likely the case that the monster will not let you get another Demon 6 off. So what do you do then, right? And this is where I was experimenting on stream with some of my stream chatters, and we found out some good things. So you can actually do Demon Flurry Rush. Okay, that's the key here, is Demon Flurry Rush, which is the circle button or the B button. The special thing to Monster Hunter Wilds that was not in previous Monster Hunters was Demon Flurry Rush can be stationary now. So that's big, because Demon Flurry Rush in the past games, if you just hit it, just tapped it by itself, you would do a gap closer and you would move. That's all it was for. It was for gap closing. Because in Monster Hunter Wilds, you can actually not press the control stick while hitting Demon Flurry Rush. You'll actually stay in place and do the Demon Flurry Rush animation and attack without moving. So that effectively makes Demon Flurry Rush multi-purpose. You can use it as a stationary move, or can use it as a gap closer move, which is really, really powerful. The reason you might want to do Demon Flurry Rush is because you can do something like right here. You can do D1, D2 into Demon Flurry Rush instead of Demon 6, and you can go from there. It's much more segmented, the combo. You can you can split the combo up into smaller pieces rather than having to do such a high commitment for D6. So here I have D2 into Demon Flurry Rush, right? And it takes a little less time to do than D6. But the thing is, that's not the biggest point I want to make here. Demon Flurry Rush can be a stationary move or can be a movement move. You could do a scenario here where you do D2, and then if the monster's about to hit you, you just do a Demon Flurry Rush to reposition, and all at the same time building significant gauge as well as doing damage, instead of doing a D6, where there's a problem with D6. D6 is stationary and actually has a heavy animation lock at the end of the move during its recovery. There's actually a way to get around this, which I'm going to explain in a second, but Demon 6 is a bit restricted. So Demon 6 is really, really when you really want to plant your feet and you don't want to be dynamic, and it's usually when the monster's toppled, or you can't really escape from the monster when you're stuck in a Demon 6 animation. So that's where you use Demon Flurry Rush instead. And Demon Flurry Rush is nice because you can combo into a Spinning Slash, which is the follow-up to Demon Flurry Rush, to kind of keep the combo going. Again, Demon Flurry Rush and Spinning Slash also build significant gauge. So like I said earlier, just doing 2 Demon 6 combos does not give you full gauge. It only gives you 97, which is just a bit short of full gauge. There's actually one combo you can do to get full gauge, and that's actually Demon 2, Demon Flurry Rush, Spinning Slash, and you just do that again. Demon 2, Demon Flurry Rush, Spinning Slash. You do that, and I believe it gives you about 104% gauge, which is nice, because at first I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. That's an overcap on gauge. You would want it to hit 100, but no, that's actually a feature, because say you miss 1 or 2 hits in that combo of D2, Demon Flurry Rush, Spinning Slash, and you do that all again, it doesn't matter if you miss a few hits, because that 4% buffer gives you some leeway so that you can still hit 100% gauge from 0% gauge. So what about D6? Is D6 completely useless? No, it's not useless at all. It's again, D6 is one of the biggest moves to build a lot of gauge. But the issue with D6, you can't really do anything out of it until we discover something. So if you just do a D6 and you try to hit Y again, you go into a heavy animation lock, a heavy recovery that doesn't really allow you to do anything. And this is kind of bad, because after D6 you can't really build gauge. And one analysis I'm thinking about doing is gauge per second, to see which combos are actually the most gauge building and most efficient ways to build gauge. I think that'd be a really useful thing. So subscribe if you're interested in that. I think that'd be a really cool video. So what can you do if you're animation locked in D6? There's one thing you can do. It's Demon Flurry Rush again. You can actually cancel the recovery animation of Demon 6 with Demon Flurry Rush. The nice thing about that, you can go to Spinning Slash. You can just keep the hits going. You can keep the gauge building going. And that's why I said earlier that Demon Blades is such a high octane, exciting weapon to play. I really love Dual Blades right now. And this is not even getting into Blade Dance and the finisher combos. This is just like the bread and butter gameplay of Demon Blades, which is the D2, the D6, the Demon Flurry Rush, bread and butter gauge building aspect of the weapon. Another combo you can do to get full gauge from 0 gauge is Demon 6, Demon Flurry Rush, Rising. So you don't do Spinning Slash out of Demon Flurry Rush, you do Rising Slash, which is a very quick like uptick move. And then you do Demon 6 again. That's another way to get full combo. So the 2 combos that you can get from 0% gauge fairly quickly that are very continuous and don't have the stoppage part of the D6 are this one right here. Demon 2, Demon Flurry Rush, Spinning Slash, you do that again. Demon 2, Demon Flurry Rush, Spinning Slash. That's one combo. The second combo for full gauge is Demon 6, Demon Flurry Rush, Rising Slash, and then Demon 6. Again, these 2 combos are very constantly hitting. It's a very good balance of getting a lot of hits in, a lot of damage in, all while getting full gauge. So I think these are the core combos without armor skills. We will have to see how this changes with the implementation of armor skills. For example, when Focus armor skill is introduced back into the game. But this is my take on it so far. All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about is what to do for big damage and like small openings and large openings. All right, so there's one move right now that kind of fucks with the fluidity of dual blades, and that move is Blade Dance 1. Now let me explain. Blade Dance 1 is a pretty heavy animation commitment compared to the other moves that are typically used for big damage. And what do I mean by that? Well, Blade Dance 1 compared to Demon Flurry 1, Demon Flurry 2, and Blade Dance 2 is very high animation commitment. Not only that, Blade Dance 1 is the move that's easily accessible from Demon Mode, which is the mode you're going to be in after you're done building gauge, right? You typically use Demon Mode to build gauge. From there, Blade Dance 1, in my opinion, it kind of really breaks the flow of dual blades. It's not that good that you have this 2.5 second single move that's heavy commitment to as a combo starter for high commitment, high damage scenarios, right? And the reason that breaks that flow is because, okay, say you want to do Demon Flurry 1 instead. Well, to do that, you have to switch into Arch Demon Mode, so you have to exit Demon Mode. There is like that kind of mental buffer where you actually have to press another button to switch modes and then get into Demon Flurry. It's not that bad as it seems though, because compared to the animation lock that you go into for Demon Mode activate, which is about 0.6 seconds, it's not that bad to exit Demon Mode. But still, there's that mental barrier where like you really have to keep track of what mode you're in, because if you want to do Demon Flurry 1, you have to just manually exit. But the nice thing is, if you are able to overcome that skill challenge, starting from Demon Flurry 1 to start spending gauge and doing big damage, it's actually pretty nice, because Demon Flurry 1, you have two options. You can go into Demon Flurry 2, which is another quick move, so you can do a quick 1-2 with high damage with Demon Flurry 1, Demon Flurry 2 in Arch Demon Mode. Alternatively, dual blades in this game is so beautiful because you can swap between Demon Flurry 1 and Blade Dance at a will. Not only are you swapping between those two moves, you're swapping modes. By doing so, you're swapping between Arch Demon Mode and Demon Mode, and Arch Demon Mode and Demon Mode, and Arch Demon Mode and Demon Mode, because the full combo is Blade Dance 1, Demon Flurry 1, Blade Dance 2, Demon Flurry 2, Blade Dance 3. And you just press the right trigger to do all of that, right? And every time you switch from a Demon Flurry to a Blade Dance, no matter what number it is, you're switching modes as well. So you're also regaining stamina and at the same time spending gauge and doing a lot of damage. In fact, I think this is actually probably the only way to do it efficiently, because you could do Blade Dance 1 straight into Blade Dance 2, but why would you? Blade Dance 1, Blade Dance 2, they both spend gauge. But also Demon Flurry spends gauge as well. But Demon Flurry, you're actually getting stamina back because you're switching from Demon Mode to Arch Demon Mode when you execute a Demon Flurry, and then you're just switching back to Demon Mode after that. So you're actually getting some stamina back, and I think it's actually worth it to do it. Not only that, you make the combo longer too, because by doing just like, it should be obvious, Blade Dance 1, Demon Flurry 1, Blade Dance 2, Demon Flurry 2, Blade Dance 3, that's just objectively longer than just going from straight Blade Dance 1, Blade Dance 2, Blade Dance 3. All right, so the two challenges, like I said earlier, the things to keep an eye out for is gauge management without armor skills. You have these two combos you can do to get 100% gauge while not interrupting. It's really a true combo because you're able to just keep attacking with these two moves. You're not burdened by the animation lock of D6 and being stuck. You can cancel out of Demon 6 recovery with the Demon Flurry Rush. And because Demon Flurry Rush is both a stationary move and a gap closer now, that opens up so many opportunities. I really like in Monster Hunter Wilds, and I said this in my previous video, that the introduction or the tweaking of some moves is really actually fundamentally changing the way you play the weapon, which is really beautiful to see how the weapons are evolving just through these small tweaks in the bread and butter, very basic moves. And lastly, once you have enough gauge, making the decision on whether to stay in Demon Mode and execute a Blade Dance 1, which is still a very strong move, or going into Arch Demon Mode to not only get stamina back, but also having a quick combo starter into the larger long string combo of Demon Flurries and Blade Dances is something to consider, and it is very skill based because it's not only managing stamina, you're not only simultaneously managing stamina, you're trying to manage damage output and high DPS, but also trying to manage in your mind what mode you're actually in, like keeping track of what mode you're actually in. Because I actually find it's actually kind of hard to know what state your dual blades hunter is in a lot of the time. And maybe it's just like the colors that the game chose to designate for each state, because you have Demon Mode, you have Arch Demon Mode, and you also have buffed mode by getting a perfect dodge, which boosts your attack. And if you're curious, that buff mode boosts your damage by approximately 18.6%. So it's actually very worth it to get that dodging buff. And you can only get that dodging buff by dodging in Demon Mode or Arch Demon Mode. So that's another reason why you want to maintain Arch Demon Mode. You cannot get that dodging buff in normal mode. Now you can see why it's so important to maintain Archdemon mode. Like I said in my Greatsword video, I will have all of this data available to Patreons or people who support the channel. Subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.